Make false accusations? Lose your business, by user Kr0MB0Pulos_Michael. Background: I used to work at a small mid-sized law firm. At the time there were 10 lawyers, including the owner. His setup was basically to do as little work as possible and just take a cut from the rest of us as independent contractors. He was very much a "it doesn't matter what they can afford, bill as much as you can" type scumbag. One thing the firm handled was real estate law. I rarely looked after any real estate transactions, save maybe 2 to 3 per year over the 2 years I worked there. At the time he decided to let me go, he made a list of reasons, all of which were fabricated. Client complaints, missed court dates, etc. It came down to me asking for a bigger cut and him not wanting to have to pay it. I felt it wasn't worth going after him in court. However, shortly after my contract was terminated, I was reviewing my insurance and stumbled upon the fact that no less than 60 real estate transactions were filed with my bar under my name. Well, one of the rules where I practice is that in a situation like this, my name has to be on the retainer agreement and I have to have worked on the file in some capacity. So, having a friend or two at the firm who were practically 1 foot out the door already, I got many of the phone numbers for these clients that weren't mine, and asked for a copy of their retainer for my records. Most of them had no problem sending a copy. Obviously I was on none of them. I quickly contacted the Bar Association. The whole thing ended up being a mess for this guy. Besides an intensely scrutinized audit, it turned out that he had done this for every lawyer in the firm. He eventually was ordered to pay an absolutely insane fine, think high 6 figures, and had his license suspended for a few years. The firm shut down and he never went on to practice again. Felt good. Lying and using people? I got you, by user don't give up the shoe. This one needs background to fully understand why I went out of my way for this revenge. My best friend was married for 10 years. With his ex for a total of 13 years. He was absolutely head over heels in love with her like I had never seen before. Which I never understood due to her alcohol abuse. She would take it out on him, and when he'd be venting about it he'd always fall back on "it's not her, it's the illness," a very respectable and admirable stance on it. Last year she asked for a divorce because after years of what I would call abuse, he had simply run out of gas. Her reasoning for asking for one? When she got fired for testing positive for weed, he wasn't empathetic enough. He admits he wasn't because it had come on the back of one of her drunken tirades where she told him he was a piece of shit who was always trying to control her. When all he ever tried to get her away from was booze for the way she treated him when she was drunk. It took him forever to move on from this, with the divorce following shortly after. And earlier this year, after thinking he was moving on, he calls me to come over and he's in a bad way. I arrive and he is absolutely fall down level of drunk. Going on that she didn't ask for a divorce for those reasons, that she had really been cheating with several other people. The next morning when he's more coherent, I ask him how he knew. He was cleaning out the spare room and selling/donating stuff he didn't need anymore, and when he went to clear an old tablet, she was still logged on and all of the evidence was there. He gets that out and says he's going back to bed and asks me to lock up when I leave. Before I left, I looked at the tablet. After seeing what I saw, I wanted to find a way to get even with the horrible and conniving woman, so I took pictures of it all and left. When I got home I started looking up information about these people. 2 of them were just normal guys, whether they knew she was married or not I don't know. But the third? Well, the third comes up as a registered sex offender. Still on probation for being such a disgusting pile of shit, an address listed as 123 Lane, City, State. Como knew that she was married. I immediately knew what I was gonna do. Como didn't live at 123 Lane. Como was living with the conniving ex. She made regular posts about their time together. On top of that, she is an avid weed user, and has several firearms because she enjoys sport shooting. So I go into the state's sex offender site, and make a report of Como not actually living where he's registered, and that Como is living in a home with what he has no right to, being a convicted felon and on parole. I include screenshots of the social media posts and all to back it up. I was thinking little would happen but an inconvenience to their lives. Boy was I wrong. She broke her typical posts with nothing serious trend on social media yesterday. With this gem, my year can't get any worse. Como lost his job and I am now facing eviction because I can't afford my rent. So I go on the state court system site to see if it's related. And yes, it was. Como was rearrested. She clearly can't post bail or Como would be out. The job she took after being fired definitely can't support her lifestyle. So he's probably going back to prison or at least jail, and she's a breath away from being homeless. I don't know if I'd ever tell my best friend I was the one behind this. But he is definitely ecstatic to see a horrible woman and sewer rat get what they deserve. Part of me wants to put up the sex offender registration link and that it's sitting in jail and say something to the effect of it's a little more than losing a job, but not wanting to make my best friend's life harder, I'll just let sleeping dog lie.